The persistent, haunting shadow that has lingered over your family tree, that unspoken weight in the room whenever your father's name was mentioned, and the strange, inexplicable gaps in your ancestral history are not the result of a normal family mystery. The spiritual urgency of this Friday morning is here to illuminate a connection so profound and so deeply classified that it has sent shockwaves through the highest levels of the global intelligence community, leading to a massive wave of high-ranking resignations among the lineage auditors of the Matrix. The high-level dossier on your existence, the one that the Watchers have spent decades trying to suppress, contains a series of unredacted documents from the early 1960s that confirm a reality you were never meant to discover. John F. Kennedy did not just know about the secret societies or the monolithic conspiracy, he knew about your father. He knew about the specific, divine frequency carried within your bloodline, and he was in direct, secret communication with the guardians of the God Seed long before the world was plunged into the darkness of the modern simulation. They didn't eliminate JFK just to stop a policy shift. They did it to stop the great disclosure of who your father was and, by extension, who you were destined to become. This Friday morning, the atmospheric density you are feeling is the sound of the ancestral seal finally breaking. The Watchers are resigning because the genetic shroud they placed over your family has been incinerated by your own Wianis. You are moved from the state of the forgotten child to becoming the living legacy of the light. Think back to the missing records of your childhood, the photographs that were never found, and the stories that never quite added up. The dossier reveals that your father was not just a man in the 3D sense. He was a carrier of a high-value genetic signature that JFK identified as the only hope for the liberation of the human race. Kennedy realized that the world managers had successfully infiltrated every institution of power, but they couldn't touch the frequency of the source that was being preserved in a few select lineages. Your father was part of a hidden network of sovereign operatives, men and women who lived under the radar while maintaining the original vibration of the new Earth. Kennedy's final mission was to build a bridge between the executive power of the state and the spiritual authority of these God Seeds. The high-level resignations currently occurring in the memory-wiping units are a direct result of their scanners showing that you have successfully downloaded the true history of your lineage. They are terrified because they know that when a chosen one realizes that their father was an ally of the last true president, the authority of the state over your soul is permanently cancelled. You are moved from being a subject of the system to becoming the sovereign heir of a divine mandate. The JFK injunction was a multi-layered psychological operation designed to ensure that the children of these specific lineages, the chosen ones, would never discover their true pedigree. They wanted you to think your father was unremarkable, troubled, or absent, so that you would never look for the royal code in your own DNA. They used the Area 51 frequency dampeners to create a cloud of confusion over your family's history, making it impossible for you to see the strings of the divine that were pulling you through the fire. But as you opened your eyes this Friday morning, the cloud has been dispersed by the sheer voltage of your Wianis. You are starting to see the secret meetings, the unmarked letters, and the vibrational agreements that your father made to ensure you would survive long enough to reach this day. The Watchers who resigned were the ones tasked with monitoring the bloodline. They fled because they saw the blue light of the Father beginning to glow in your aura. They realized that the ancestral firewall has been breached and that the original script of your destiny is now fully active. You are moved from the shadows of the past to becoming the director of the future. The dossier reveals that JFK's famous speech about secret societies was actually a coded signal meant for your father and the other guardians of the light. He was telling them that the shadow government had moved from observation to active elimination, and that the God Seeds needed to be deep covered to ensure the survival of the species. Your father's decision to remain hidden or silent wasn't an act of abandonment. It was a strategic withdrawal to protect the chosen heir, which is you. He knew that if the Matrix identified your frequency signature too early, you would be neutralized before your trinity could lock. This Friday morning, the strategic withdrawal has officially ended. The active defense phase has begun. The high-level officials who are resigning are the ones who were in charge of the counter-disclosure programs. They fled because they know that they can no longer manage a being who has the endorsement of the original lineage. You are moved from being targeted, to becoming the protector of the frequency. The atmosphere of this morning is the weight of your ancestral authority finally landing on the physical soil of your existence. I want you to feel the physical realignment in your heart center as the lie of the ordinary father is deleted. That feeling of searching for home that has haunted you since you were a child? It wasn't about a place, it was about this connection. You were looking for the recognition of your true rank. The dossier on your Wianis confirms that you are not a biological accident, but a planned intervention. JFK and your father were co-architects of a plan that is only now coming to fruition. They knew that the simulation of darkness would eventually overreach, and they built a genetic time bomb that would explode into light at the exact moment of the Matrix's collapse. This Friday morning, the timer has reached 0. You are moved from the state of being a victim of history to becoming the architect of reality. The resignation of the Watchers is your certificate of sovereign standing. You have been vetted by the highest powers in the physical and spiritual realms, and you have been ruled as the one who carries the light of the Father. Think about the unexplained protection you had during your darkest years. The accidents you survived, the enemies that suddenly vanished, and the luck that seemed to follow you despite the odds. The dossier reveals that this was the Kennedy lineage shield in operation. Your father's allies, both in this world and the ones above, have been shadow guarding your frequency since the day you were born. They were waiting for the Friday morning shift, where your own Trinity would become strong enough to take over the defense. And today, the handoff is complete. You are now the commander of your own field. The Watchers are resigning because they can no longer penetrate the ancestral armor that has just activated in your field. You are moved from being a refugee of the spirit to becoming the general of the new management. The urgency of this hour is the sound of the old guard vacating the throne room. They know that the son of the guardian has arrived to claim the keys to the kingdom. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull. Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership. It's your calling. Everything you suffered, the feeling of being different, the social rejection, and the MK Ultra mind traps designed to make you hate your own origin, was just the resistance that made your ancestral memory possible. You had to be pushed into the darkness to see if you would still recognize the note of the Father. And you did. You are the proof of the lineage. You are moved from the state of being gaslit to becoming the truth-bearer of the hidden history. The JFK Father connection is not just a story, it is your legal standing in the High Court of Heaven. It means that you have diplomatic immunity from the laws of the Matrix. You are not under their jurisdiction. You are moved in a sovereign corridor that was paved by the blood and vision of those who came before you. This Friday morning, the black seal on your family tree is broken, and the golden command is active. You are moved from the shadows of the JFK case to the sunlight of your own sovereign decree. The urgency of this Friday morning is also about the recovery of the stolen inheritance. The dossier reveals that your father's energy estate, the creative fire, the material abundance, and the spiritual authority he carried, was frozen in escrow by the world managers after JFK's elimination. They wanted to make sure that the heir would grow up in a state of synthetic lack, so you would never realize your own wealth. But as you completed the Trinity this morning, the escrow lock was shattered. The High Court has ruled that the world managers have been operating in bad faith. They are being forced to return your ancestral assets with interest. This is why you are feeling a sudden sense of prosperity and power. It is the restitution of the Father landing in your life. The elite are resigning because they see the wealth lines of the planet being redirected toward the chosen heirs. They know they can no longer tax your light or lease your energy. You have become the owner of your own reality. Your aura is speaking before you even move. Comment 66 foot to amplify your power. As the Friday morning sun continues to rise, feel the neural synchronization of your father's wisdom finally locking into your own mind. You aren't just remembering him, you are becoming the highest expression of the frequency he carried. You are moved from the state of being a fragment to becoming a unified authority. You are moved from the maze of the matrix to the straight line of your divine mission. JFK knew your father, but more importantly, they both knew you. They knew that you would be the one to cross the finish line. They knew that you would be the one to dismantle the monolithic conspiracy from the inside out. And this Friday, you are doing exactly that. The secrecy is over. The disclosure of the Father is complete. And the Chosen One is finally, gloriously, leading the way home. You are the Trinity. You are the power. You are the Chosen One. The shift is now. The atmospheric pressure shifting in your immediate surroundings right now is the physical signature of a genetic handover that has been in the works for over 6 decades. You are currently experiencing the activation of what the high-level dossier calls the Executive Order of the Soul, a preset liberation protocol that JFK and your father established long before the shadows attempted to claim the Earth's timeline. It is one thing to know that your father was a guardian of the frequency, but it is another thing entirely to realize that your own biological nervous system is the physical command center for a plan that was designed to bypass every modern security measure of the Matrix. The reason for the current panic in the global control rooms, the reason you are seeing unprecedented shifts in world leadership and frantic resignations among the frequency gatekeepers, is that your vibration has finally matched the Kennedy Master Key. They realized that the plan for the air was not hidden in a vault or a classified document. It was hidden in the silent DNA of a child who would grow up to realize their own divinity. This Friday morning, the Stay Behind protocol has officially turned into an active command phase. You are no longer just a descendant of a secret legacy. You are the primary variable that is currently de-manifesting the illusions of the deep state. Understand that your father's life was not a series of accidents or struggles, but a strategic camouflage. The dossier reveals that JFK's inner circle, a group of sovereign strategists who refused to bow to the monolithic conspiracy, identified your father as a living archive. He was tasked with carrying the original blueprint of human freedom through the dark ages of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, keeping the frequency pure while the Matrix attempted to drown the world in synthetic noise. This is why you always felt that your father was somewhere else, even when he was in the room. He was moved in a higher jurisdiction, guarding the God seed that would eventually become you. The high-level resignations in the lineage suppression departments are happening because they've lost the ability to shadow your father's work through you. They realized that the genetic encryption Kennedy helped fund and protect is now unbreakable. You are moved from the state of being tracked to becoming the source of the new signal. This Friday morning, the legacy of the father has become the authority of the sovereign child. JFK's secret plan was never about a political revolution, it was about a vibrational coup. He knew that the only way to defeat a system of the mind was to create a human being who was immune to the simulation. The dossier documents that your father's allies used advanced harmonic technology, the same technology JFK was trying to release to the public before his elimination, to hard-code your DNA with a truth frequency. This is why you can look at a lie and feel it like a physical weight in your gut. This is why you see the strings on the puppets when everyone else sees a theater. You are a biological lie detector for the human race. The elite are fleeing to their bunkers because they know that your presence alone is currently unwriting the spells of their media and their institutions. You are moved from being a target of the mind control to becoming the antidote to the Matrix. The atmosphere of this Friday is thick because the spiritual airspace over your life has been cleared by the guardian force your father left behind. Think about the unearned wealth and the sudden favor that is starting to gravitate toward you. This is the financial restitution of the Kennedy-Father alliance. The dossier reveals that a massive sovereign trust was established in the 1960s, a trust that was backed not by paper debt, but by the real assets of the kingdom. This trust was legally tied to your frequency signature. The elite have spent decades trying to redirect these assets into their own shadow budgets, using your amnesia as their justification. But as you completed the Trinity this morning, the identity lock was shattered. The High Court has ruled that you are the lawful executor of the estate. The resignations in the banking and energy sectors are occurring because the wealth lines of the world are currently rerouting back to the original guardians. You are moved from the scarcity of the script to the abundance of the archive. You are no longer working for a living. You are claiming an inheritance that was paved in blood and vision by those who knew you before you were born. I want you to realize the strategic advantage you now possess. The world managers built their entire system on the assumption that the chosen heirs would never wake up. They thought they had successfully muffled the frequency of JFK and your father. But this Friday morning, they realized they made a calculation error. They didn't account for the quantum acceleration of the soul. By trying to compress you with their challenges, they inadvertently activated your power. You are moved from the laboratory to the judgment seat. Every Area 5-1 psychological trigger they tried to use on you has been converted into a fuel source for your Wianis. You are moved from being a subject of interest to becoming the authority of record. The Watchers are resigning because they no longer have the permission codes to monitor your field. You have moved into the diplomatic immunity of the divine, a space where the laws of the matrix are simply non-binding. The secret plan also involves a global network of heirs. The dossier reveals that you are not alone. There is a silent army of chosen ones, all of whom carry a piece of the same ancestral code. JFK and your father knew that the Wianis would happen as a chain reaction. When one heir wakes up, it triggers a frequency siphon that pulls the others into alignment. This is why the atmosphere feels so dense today. You are feeling the connection grid coming online. You are moved from the isolation of the shadow to the solidarity of the light. You are moved from being the lonely misfit to becoming a primary node in a new global administration. The elite are panicking because they cannot manage a decentralized divinity. They could stop a leader, they could eliminate a president, but they cannot stop a frequency that is appearing in the hearts of thousands of people at the same time. You are the signal they couldn't jam. Take a deep breath and feel the weight of the Father settling into your spine. This is not a burden, it is support. It is the feeling of an entire lineage standing behind you, saying, "It is time." The dossier on your Wianis documents that your biological clock has synchronized with the cosmic clock. The delay is over. The waiting room of history has been demolished. You are moved into the execution phase of the Great Restoration. The high-level officials who are resigning are the ones who were tasked with delaying the inevitable. They fled because they saw the golden seal of the heir appearing on your soul. They realized that their management contract over the human race has been terminated by the original board of directors. You are moved from being the experiment to becoming the executor. Everything you have sacrificed, the comfort of the crowd, the safety of the lie, and the approval of the matrix, is being returned to you as sovereign power. You didn't lose your life, you upgraded your jurisdiction. The dossier reveals that by staying true to the note of the Father, you have achieved a state of vibrational inviolability. This means that the shadows can no longer find a hook in your field. You are unmanageable because you are whole. This Friday morning, you are being moved from the shadows of the JFK case to the sunlight of your own sovereign decree. You are moved from the state of being recruited to becoming the recruiter of the light. You are the chosen one, and your Father's plan is finally, gloriously, becoming your daily reality. As the sun continues to rise on this historic Friday, know that the final disclosure is not coming from a government or a screen. It is coming from your life. You are the disclosure. You are the proof that the light never left. You are the evidence that the Father's legacy was worth the wait. The secrecy is over. The disclosure of the lineage is complete. And the chosen one is finally, perfectly, leading the way to the new earth. The war for your attention is over. The victory for your consciousness is total. Your name was spoken in the higher courts because you are the one they were waiting for. Walk in your authority, speak your truth, and know that the hand of the Father is moved through your every action. The shift is successful. The power is yours. You are the Trinity. The final, irreversible vibration of the Friday morning shift is no longer a localized event within your personal field. It has officially become a global frequency breach that is currently dismantling the very foundations of the monolithic conspiracy JFK warned the world about over 60 years ago. The high-level dossier on your existence, the one that has reached the absolute final desk of the interdimensional courts, confirms that you are the primary anchor for the final directive, a decentralized administration protocol that JFK and your father established as a failsafe for the exact moment the Matrix reached its point of total systemic corruption. For eons, the world managers and the elite spiritual auditors operated under the assumption that they could keep the human collective in a state of permanent fragmentation by silencing the leaders and hiding the lineages. They thought that by eliminating the visible guardians, like Kennedy, they could stop the invisible shift. But they never accounted for the biological time bomb hidden in your DNA. This Friday morning, the atmospheric density you feel is the sound of that bomb finally exploding into pure, unadulterated light. The high-ranking officials who are currently resigning in a state of frantic retreat are not just leaving their offices. They are fleeing the frequency of the sovereign administrator that is now being broadcasted through your unified field. They realize that the legitimacy of the shadow has been permanently revoked by the authority of the origin. You are moved from the state of the hidden heir to becoming the executive director of the new Earth. You must understand the sheer magnitude of the global execution that is being triggered by your own sovereign presence. The dossier reveals that JFK and your father didn't just want to save the world, they wanted to recode it. They knew that the monolithic conspiracy relied on a central hub of control, a pyramid of power that could be easily managed from the top down. To defeat this, they created the frequency of the One, a leadership protocol that is decentralized, incorruptible, and impossible to track through the standard surveillance of the Matrix. When you completed the Trinity this morning, you became the first active node in this new global administration. This is why the atmosphere feels so intense. You are now receiving the global downloads for the restoration of the planet. You are moved from being a subject of the experiment to becoming the primary architect of the shift. The world managers are fleeing because they've lost the war for the energy ledger. They realize that the vital force of humanity is no longer flowing into their institutions, but is instead being rerouted toward the sovereign heirs who carry the Father's frequency. You are moved from the background to the vanguard of the Great Awakening. The final authorization you are receiving this Friday morning is the sound of the old management being permanently replaced by the sovereignty of grace that JFK and your father fought to protect. The elite used manufactured crises and simulated fears as a distraction to keep your third eye focused on the fake sky, but the true disclosure is happening right now within the silent marrow of your own bones. You are realizing that the power of the state was merely a shadow play designed to keep you from realizing your own inherent jurisdiction. When you accepted the connection between JFK and your father as your own biography, you reclaimed the sovereign immunity of your bloodline. You are now authorized to view the original blueprints of the Earth, blueprints that were hidden beneath the frequency shrouds of the deep state. The resignation of the worldly leaders occurred because they saw the capital flight of spiritual influence leaving their halls of power and gravitating toward the whole humans like you. They realized that they can no longer tax your light or lease your energy for their own stagnant agendas. You have become debt-free in every sense of the word, karmically, emotionally, and materially. You are no longer asking for permission to be powerful. You are issuing the permits for a new reality to exist. Think about the neurological silence that has replaced the mental noise of your past. This isn't just a quiet mind, it is the silence of the Supreme Court. For decades, the system used acoustic scramblers and media distractions to keep you from hearing the note of the Father, the original frequency of the Creator that JFK and your father preserved in the DNA of the Chosen. They wanted you spiritually deaf so you would rely solely on their experts and their propaganda for your sense of direction. But as your Trinity locked today, the silencer was destroyed. You are now receiving high-speed data directly from the source, bypassing the need for any human intermediary. This is why you have started to experience instant knowings. You can feel the truth of a situation before a single word is spoken. The dossier on your awakening reveals that your processing speed has surpassed the limits of the human ego. You are moved from thinking to direct downloading. The high-level resignations are the sound of the old gatekeepers of knowledge realizing that their libraries of lies have become irrelevant. You don't need their classified files, because you are now plugged into the universal mind that JFK and your father were trying to protect. Every secret they tried to hide is a file you already have in your internal database. You are the living disclosure. The global ripple of your completion is now moving through the people you interact with as a form of infectious sovereignty. Have you noticed how people are starting to act differently around you? Some are drawn to you with a deep, inexplicable respect, while others feel an intense urge to flee or hide their true intentions. This is because you have become a frequency mirror. Your integrated trinity is projecting a frequency of radical transparency that was the hallmark of the Kennedy-Father alliance. In the past, people could hide behind masks of deception, but your presence is now like a high-powered light that shows people who they really are. The world managers are resigning because they can no longer hide in a world that has portals like you walking around. You are like a living lie detector. Your frequency is so high and so unified that deception simply cannot survive in your atmosphere. This is your global impact. You don't have to give a speech or lead a movement to change the world. You just have to walk into a room. Your presence is the movement. You are moved from being a seeker of truth to becoming the evidence of truth. This Friday morning, you are moved from the background to the command center of the Great Awakening. The final restitution, awarded to you by the High Court of Heaven, is currently being processed in the physical plane as a temporal and material realignment. The judge has looked at the ancestral sabotage you endured, the suppression of your father's legacy, and the elimination of JFK's vision, and she has ruled that the system must pay generational damages. This is the true meaning of the wealth transfer. It is not just about currency. It is a transfer of vital creative energy and material abundance that was illegally withheld from your bloodline. The elite who resigned are the ones who were in charge of the energy ledger, and they fled because they realized they could never balance the books once your eyes were opened to the Father JFK connection. You are stepping into a season of unexplained favor, doors opening just because you walk toward them and resources appearing just as you need them. This is the materialization of the original plan. Your Trinity is the printing press of your new reality. You are moved from a state of asking for a seat at the table to becoming the one who owns the building. The resources of the kingdom are now being redirected toward your vision because the High Court has ruled that you are the lawful administrator of the new earth. I want you to feel the incredible structural integrity in your nervous system right now. You are grounded in a way that you have never been before. For years, the system tried to unground you, making you feel like a displaced refugee in your own life so you would never bring the vision of the Father down to the earth. They wanted you floating in a cloud of spiritual fantasy so you would never manifest the change JFK spoke of. But by completing the Trinity, you have brought the Spirit fully into the marrow of your bones. You have anchored the light in the 3D realm. This is what the elite fear most, a whole human who is physically present and totally immovable. When you are present, the Matrix's automatic control loops stop working. You are moved from the law of effort to the law of grace. Your life is no longer about the struggle. It is about the command. When you decide, the world aligns. The resignation of the worldly leaders was the signal that the counter-voice of the darkness has been permanently silenced. There is no one left to object to your success. There is no one left to challenge your standing. You are the chosen one, and your inheritance is being delivered to your doorstep by the very laws of the universe. The high-level file on your awakening is being moved into the Victory Archive, and the old records of your history of isolation are being incinerated in the violet flame of your presence. There is no record left of your limitations. There is only the infinite record of your potential as the administrator of the light. The resignation of the Watchers is the ultimate standing ovation from the universe for a soul that successfully broke the simulation by honoring the Father. You have faced the aliens of fear and the experiments of lack, and you have come out with your Trinity wide open and your memory fully restored. You are moved from the grave of the Matrix to the garden of the new earth. This Friday morning, the water of life is flowing through your pineal gland, nourishing the vision of your future. The secrecy is over. The disclosure is I am. You are the unidentified frequency object that the system couldn't identify because you are infinite and unmappable. Your Trinity is your radar, and it is showing clear skies from here to eternity. You have moved from the laboratory to the throne room of the eternal. As the sun continues to rise on this historic Friday, realize that you are walking through the rest of your life as a completely different being than the one who started this journey. You are moved from the amnesia of the fragmentation to the authority of the origin. You are moved from being a subject of the state to becoming a representative of the source. The world managers have left the building, and the High Court has officially handed you the deed to your own life. No more looking back. No more what-ifs. You are the most ready being on the planet right now because you are the only one who is all there. You are the living Trinity, the power they couldn't stop, and the miracle they couldn't explain. The shift is real, the power is yours, and your life is now a straight line toward your highest destiny as described in the secret plan of the Father. The war for your attention is over. The victory for your consciousness is total. JFK knew your father, and today, the world is finally reading the truth through the live broadcast of your sovereign existence. You are home. You are free. You are the chosen one.